Hi guys, and welcome to the first episode of Better Know a Heresy, where I go through some of the traditional heresies in Christianity, their history, and why they're heretical. I kind of thought this would be kind of a fun, easy to do theology series that people might find interesting. So Arianism is kind of the first really big history in heresy. Sorry, not heresy. Heresy in Christendom. So it was founded by Arius. And now Arianism is kind of confusing because no, it's not Nordicism, it's not Nazism. There's just a priest named Arius, which is confusing because Arianism is pronounced the same way as the Aryan, like the Aryan race or the Aryan people, but it's spelled differently. There's no Y in it. It's Arians, or it'll probably be in the title. So Arianism was founded by Arius, who was a North African. I believe he was a Berber who was ordained a priest in Alexandria. So he started formulating Arianism. So what Arianism is it's the idea that Jesus is not God. The idea is that Jesus is the first thing created by God, but he is a subordinate and lesser deity. It's kind of hard to grasp, but in Orthodox Christianity, Orthodox with a lowercase o, the idea is that God emptied himself and that Jesus is his physical incarnation. To quote John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That Jesus is the kind of the physical incarnation of God, and that there isn't a fundamental distinction between the two of them. Arianism posits that Jesus is a completely distinct being. It's a bit like Mormonism in that. So Jesus is completely distinct. And some people, so Arianism is basically that. Jesus is seen as being kind of like an angel. Like an angel is a being greater than a human that is created by God before the earth, but is not God himself. So why is this heretical? It denies the Trinity. It denies the deity of Jesus. To some extent, it denies the resurrection, because it doesn't really make sense for Jesus to die for our sins unless he is God. So Arianism does hold a very high view of Jesus, but it's they reject that he is God. So kind of the course for Arianism is it was extremely popular among Germanic barbarian tribes, including the Vandals, I think the Lombards, the Goths, etc. There are a number of Aryan kingdoms. The Visigoths in Spain were Aryan. The Vandals in North Africa were Aryan. And I forget who it was in Italy, but they were also Aryan. So it was very popular among Germanic tribes. It was condemned, though, at the First Council of Nicaea, which gave us the Nicene Creed, which is kind of the extended criticism, the extended creed of what is Christianity. The Council of Nicaea was called by the Emperor Constantine, and it was all the bishops in the church, and they all voted unanimously to confirm the Nicene Creed. They had a vote on Arianism, although it wasn't exactly a vote on whether or not Arianism was heretical or not. It was a vote on whether or not to censor Arius and denounce him as a heretic. The final vote, I believe, was 298 to 0 with 2 abstentions. It's often portrayed that it was some sort of close vote that, like, on Jesus' divinity, where, like Jesus was declared divine by like a 1 or 2 vote margin. It wasn't. It was a unanimous vote saying that Arius was a heretic. It wasn't even like the question wasn't even whether or not his views were right. The question was whether or not Arius should even like be allowed to remain a priest, or he should be stripped of his office and banned from talking. So Arius was just basically shut down by the church. He was condemned as a heretic. Arianism was condemned as a heresy. And it persisted for a while, but eventually what happened was the traditionally Arian kingdoms like the Vandals and the Visigoths were overrun by the Caliphate. Like many of the various heresies, they existed in areas that would predominantly become dominated by Islam, and they did not survive Islam's domination and destruction. Those areas would eventually be destroyed, and when they were reconquered or reincorporated, they would be part of kind of orthodoxy or Catholicism. So Arianism persists today. It's very common, I find, among Protestant denominations. The most obviously Arian denomination is the Jehovah's Witnesses, who believe that Jesus was actually Saint Michael the Archangel and was not actually God incarnate. Jehovah's Witnesses reject the Trinity and believe only God the Father is the Trinity, much as Arians do. So Arianism was in part what led to the Council of Nicaea and the Nicene Creed as a statement to try and prevent further heresy. It did not prevent further heresy, but it did define once and for all what was the core basis of Christian belief. So Arius eventually died disgraced. Arianism continued a bit longer until it was destroyed by Islam and a renewed effort from the church to reconvert heretical areas. Overall, though, it remains one of the largest heresies in history and one of the ones that came closest to bringing down Catholicism. Or I guess at that point, the Apostolic Church. So that's the first heresy. This is Argent Templar.